Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to S. Chand and Company conference call hosted by Prabhudas Lilladher Private Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal for an operator by pressing star then zero on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Jinesh Joshi from Prabhudas Lilladher Private Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. On behalf of Prabhudas Lilladher, I welcome you all to the 3Q FY21 earnings call of S. Chand Limited. We have with us the management represented by Mr. Himanshu Gupta, MD, Mr. Saurabh Mittal, CFO, and Mr. Atul Soni, Head Investor Relations, Strategy and M&A. I would now like to hand over the call to the management for opening remarks, and after that we can open the floor for Q&A. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, and very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Himanshu Gupta, the Managing Director of S. Chand Company Limited. I would like to welcome you all to our third quarter results conference call for FY 2021, and thank you all for taking the time out and joining us here today. I trust each one of you and your loved ones are safe in these times. 2020 has been a very challenging year for each one of us. However, with a sharp decline in COVID-19 cases and with the rollout of the vaccine, the overall business environment has been boosted in the last few days. As you are aware, H1 of this year was a time when the COVID-19 pandemic struck the world, which led to schools remaining physically closed since March in the country. The pandemic has enabled us to reassess and restructure our business, making it cost-effective, working capital efficient, resulting in generating of positive cash flows. In spite of the challenges, we have achieved 46% year-over-year growth in our operating revenues, reduced our EBITDA and PAT losses by 66% and 40% respectively during the first 9 months of the year. We have reduced our operating expenses by 31% during this period as well. Saurabh will discuss more about these numbers in his remarks. On a positive note, we are seeing opening of schools for classes 6 to 12 and higher.
Hello, Mr. Gupta, we are not able to hear you.
Is he dialed in?
Yes,
have you lost the connection or?
No, sir is connected.
I'm there. Is it?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay. So should I start?
Himanshu, I think we lost you where you were about to say about the school opening. So can you please start from there again?
Okay. Sure. Let me just go back to that. Yeah. So on a positive note, we're seeing opening of schools for classes 6 to 12 and higher education colleges and universities across the country from January onwards. CBSE and ICSE have come out with their circular stating that the new school academic session should start from March-April itself. This augurs well for Q4 outlook, indicating that normalcy is returning to the education institutions, which have been impacted for the most part of the pandemic. Slide 7 in the presentation covers this in more detail. On the EdTech front, I'm happy to share that we continue to see strong traction in LearnFlix during the quarter. LearnFlix has already been downloaded over 170,000 times, and we have over 19,500 paying subscribers. We also expect schools which were provided with free usage during COVID-19 would convert to paying customers in FY22. We plan to launch this in vernacular languages with LearnFlix Bangla, slated for release by Q2 FY22. During the quarter, we conducted a pilot for our blended learning platform, Madhuban Educate 360, across 50 schools. The pilot reached to over 7,000 students and spread over 2 classes and covered 5 subjects. Madhuban Educate 360 would deliver a holistic array of product features as we strive to enable the schools to conduct online classes, assessments, homework, and give access to content to the teachers and students, etc. We believe that the blending learning is here to stay even post the pandemic, and Madhuban Educate 360 will be the bridge between in-school learning and at-home learning for students. The schools have given very positive feedback, and we are hopeful of a strong conversion ratio of pilots to paid subscriptions. The engagement with stakeholders, including schools, teachers, students, and parents, would increase with this platform. This period also saw a marked increase in subscription of ebooks. Our total ebook sales across B2C platform and B2B sales to institution has jumped over 100% on an April to December via year-on-year comparative basis. We also saw a marked jump in ordering of books across e-commerce platforms. As a channel, e-commerce now accounts for around 8% of our revenues in the first 9 months and continues to show strong traction. We continue to build on these channels both internally and through strategic partnerships. We are in the process of transferring Milestone and LearnFlix, our school and student solution, into an SPV, Convergia Digital Education Private Limited, through a slump sale with the view of raising capital separately for this business to grow exponentially. Shareholder approval has been sought through postal ballot, and we expect the process to be completed by early March 2021. We are also of the view that additional matured EdTech solutions may also be hived into this entity, if needed in the future. Do keep in mind that Convergia will be a subsidiary of SCHAN, only to be diluted through capital raise or ESOP allotment. With that, I now request our CFO, Mr. Saurabh Mittal, to apprise us of all the financial performance of SCHAN. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Himanshu. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for your time. I'm Saurabh Mittal, CFO of SCHAN. In terms of numbers for the first 9 months, our consolidated operating revenues came at 1425 million versus 975 million during the same period last year. Our gross margins increased by 260% as a result of product rationalization, distribution of e-specimens, higher ebook sales, and lower paper prices. On the back of our cost rationalization exercise, impact of the pandemic, which reduced payroll, rentals, travel costs, conducting workshops in webinar mode, and general reduction of selling expenses, we saw operating expenses lower by 31% on a comparable basis. Our EBITDA losses are considerably lower by 66% to a loss of 592 million versus a loss of 1726 million in the corresponding period last year. Our net loss also reduced by 40% to 1042 million versus a net loss of 1729 million in the same period last year. Although the tax expenses is not comparable, as we've been conservative with the recognition of deferred taxes during the current period reporting. I would also like to bring to your attention to slide number 8, which compares 9-month performance for the past 4 years, and it indicates that the steps taken during the past 2 years towards building a cost-effective and working capital organization with focus on positive cash flows has finally yielded results for us, and we continue to focus on working capital rationalization, product rationalization, and growing margins. Also, I would like to bring to your attention slide number 9, where we've shown our performance on a calendar year basis. We have turned profitable on calendar year basis during calendar year 2020 at a PBT level. Additionally, we managed 21% EBITDA margins during the past 12 months, despite loss of revenue and higher provisioning during the pandemic. We continue working towards achieving this on a financial year basis also. In terms of working capital, debtor days have reduced to 157 days versus 285 days at the end of Q4 FY20. Our net working capital days also decreased to 226 days versus 321 days in Q4 FY20. Do keep in mind this receivable balance currently includes 9-month sales of 1425 million as well. Thus, in terms of March receivables, we have collected major portion of the receivables. In terms of debt, we ended the quarter with a gross debt of 2292 million and net debt of 1991 million, which is similar level as of last year despite the lag in business and collections. I'm also happy to report that in terms of cash flows, we saw a massive improvement in operating cash flows coming through from the full implementation of SCHAN 3.0 in the past 18 months. Our strategy of focusing on cash flows has yielded results with net cash generated from operations of rupees 251 million in the 9 months FY21 versus 96 million in FY20 and negative OCF of 920 in 9 months FY19. On an overall basis, there is a 538 million improvement in cash flows generated over last year in spite of the pandemic times. We also turned overall cash positive of rupees 56 million in April to December period, which is a step in the right direction. We expect FY21 to be a much stronger year versus FY20 from a cash generation perspective. With this, I would like to open the call for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and two. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one now. The first question is from the line of Nitin Dharwan from Aurum Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Thank you. So my questions are related with LearnFlix. I wanted to understand what is the internal growth targets that we are having for this platform. We have grown from 19,000 to 19,500, as you mentioned in the PPT, for the paid users, and we have substantial growth in the number of downloads. So what is the strategy going forward for LearnFlix? The growth numbers and the strategy, because the amount that we are charging is minuscule over there, because I learned about that charges as well, and I found the platform to be quite good. So what is the strategy over there? One. Second is about the PE funding related with this platform. So where are we in terms of that, and any valuations that we have taken, considered, and any numbers that we have in mind? Thank you.
So Saurabh, are you answering or should I answer?
So I'll answer that, sir. So in terms of LearnFlix, the strategy is largely to do a B2B, because B2C is more heavy in terms of the marketing spend. Currently, we are not looking at that till the time we are able to raise capital for that. Once, of course, we raise capital, we will look at the B2C space, but we will largely focus around B2B, because that's where our strengths lie, and we go out to about 45,000 schools. So we continue to meet these schools, show them the product, and long term, I mean, in the next 1 year, we hope to have about 100,000 paid subscribers and at least 1 million downloads for the solution. In terms of the pre-funding, we continue to meet investors, and still premature to say anything on that, but we do keep getting interest for it, and once we have something on which is a term sheet, we will inform the markets.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one now. The next question is from the line of Deepan Shankar from Trustline PMS. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks a lot for the opportunity. And good to hear positive outlook, schools turning positive. So just want to understand how has been the order book for Q4 with now most schools have formed up plans for next financial year for their classes to begin. So how has been the order book so far?
Let me answer that question. Thank you for asking this. The order book is seemingly doing good now, because we are seeing the momentum starting from, I would say, the end of 15th, 20th of January. And after the circular of CBSE and ICSE coming in and the schools opening up, the order book momentum is looking much better now. And we feel till March the order book and the supplies that we are going to make would be much, much better. Obviously, it's very difficult right now to give an exact number on that, because seeing the whole situation in the country. And people are started to, the dealers and the customers have started to place their orders. And they are, the schools as they're opening up and everything, and the children going from 9 to 12 and even 6 to 8. And very soon the children from class 1 to 5 will be also going to schools. And there's quite positive, I would say, news in the market regarding the order status.
Okay. So earlier we have been guiding for 600 crore top line for FY21. So in that
Right.
sense, we will have to do numbers of Q4 FY19. So is that still possible for us?
Saurabh?
Yeah. So, I mean, we are targeting the same numbers, and we hope to achieve them. So we're watching how these schools open up, and I mean, since March and April is a very, and anything could move from March to April. So there is a bit of a timing issue, but I think most of the things should happen by March once the circulars have come in, the momentum has started. So we are positive that most of it would happen in March.
Okay, great to hear that, sir. And finally, any updates on the timelines of new education policy implementation? Is it well on track?
I think the new education policy, because being a government matter, we believe that we hope so that in FY22 we will see very positive results if the education policy and the national curriculum framework is announced, and we're hoping for that. And then we will get the positive news and we will share with the market. But as of now, we are feeling that FY22 we will start seeing the positive results in the national curriculum framework coming in.
Okay. Thanks a lot and all the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one now. The next question is from the line of Anmol Grover from Albatross Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi everyone. Actually, my question was just answered about on the national education policy. Though I would like if you could shed some more light on the education policy. I mean, how could it affect our company, and what could be the growth going forward if and when this gets implemented? Thank you.
So as for the education policy, if the education policy comes in and the whole syllabus changes, that will have very positive news for the industry, especially for the company as well, because it will bring in the new curriculum, and the new curriculum will require to make the new books. So whatever the books they are there in the market, which are the second-hand books or the used books on the market, these books will not be in circulation after this, and that also impacts the business. So for the next 2 to 3 years, we'll have a good runway of having new books being sold in the market, and that will take us to high growth path for the company, and that will be a positive result for the company as well as the whole industry also.
So Anmol, just to add here,
Okay,
Anmol, the last time NEP came, the new curriculum came, we saw that it was implemented over a 2-year period. So we expect that this time when the new policy comes, we expect that it will have a similar kind of impact where it will be, it will be implemented over a 2-year period for our target schools which we cater to. And during that 2-year period, you will see a huge jump in growth because of the fact that the second-hand market goes out of the window. So, since this is a government prerogative, we cannot give an actual timeline, but we are hopeful within the next 6 months the curriculum will come out, and based on that, all publishers will be making their books. Obviously, bigger publishers like us, like S-Chand, who have their own editorial team and their own printing assets, will be able to do a faster turnaround on the newer books and capture market share.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the detailed answer.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one now. The next question is from the line of Raja Natarajan, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And my question is more of on the expenses. I think the cost of material has reduced drastically in this 9 months compared to earlier periods. Is this sustainable going forward, or is it just because due to COVID-19 we had this?
Yeah. So in terms of cost, I would say most of it is sustainable because there has been a change in the way working is happening in terms of bringing down the number of offices across and bringing in efficiencies as far as holding workshops for schools is concerned. certain costs like travel costs and employee costs may be slightly higher in the next year, but then that will definitely come in with revenue growth post the NEP. Rest of it, of course, I think we have learned through the pandemic new ways to do work more efficiently, and those costs are structural changes that have happened and will continue to be like that.
And Q4 cost also can be, there can be a similar reduction compared to previous periods.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a substantial cost reduction from Q4 last year to Q4 this year. So that across all line items will definitely be there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Participants, to ask a question, you may press star and 1 now. The next question is from the line of Deepak Poddar from Sapphire Capital. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, sir, for the opportunity. So just one query on the margin front. So we are still kind of looking at 20% kind of a band that we have been speaking earlier as well. That's it from me.
Which margin is this?
Yeah, I think we were looking at about 20% margin. So is that intact, or is there any change?
Yeah. So in terms of gross margin, our target is anywhere between 55 to 60%, which we continue to maintain. And in terms of the EBITDA margin, yes, 20% EBITDA margin is something that we in the short term we'll focus on that. But eventually, once the NEP is implemented, we should definitely go back to the between 23 to 25%.
Understood. Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nitin Dharwan from Aurum Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Just one correction. My name is Nitin Dharmawat.
Apologies.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. My next question is, there is some hike in the paper prices. So how will it impact? How much is the rise? And will there be a substantial change for us, because paper will be one of the raw materials for us?
So let me answer this. So yes, paper prices have definitely increased over the last 3 to 4 months period, and the paper prices have shot up more than 20% in this period. But fortunately, the company does annual contracts, and we have done the contracts based on that. We have done from July this year, in the middle of the pandemic, and we have contracts. Most of the contracts are till June. So our contracts are 20% lower than what the current market prices are. So we will not be impacted negatively in the terms of the prices. Definitely, we will be benefited in the prices, that the paper prices that we are going to purchase compared to the market. And even compared to last year, our paper prices are much lower. And the quantities of paper that we are looking to purchase this year will be lower than last year, because we have a lot of stock that we have, and we plan to liquidate that stock. And rather than printing only new books, we're planning to liquidate the old stock also. So overall, the printing and the raw material would be much less in terms of the expenses than last year and even the year before that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We would request the participants to please press star and 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Giriraj Daga from KM Visaria Family Trust. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hello, team. So my question is related to what I given to understand that the 10th and 12th CBSE exams and other things will be taking place somewhere about April and kind of a month. So do you expect some sales to get pushed in quarter one? Because generally for us, the fourth quarter is very high. So do you expect some sales to get pushed back in the quarter one? Is there a possibility, or you don't expect so?
Saurabh, are you answering?
Yeah. Go ahead. So as far as that is concerned, if you see on the K to 12 segment, only class 11 gets impacted, and class 11 as a percentage of my total revenue would not even be about 2 to 3%. So don't see a significant impact as far as that is concerned, because class 12 students will anyway go into college, and college session However, college sessions this year have already been impacted, and most colleges have started operations only in November and December. So the semester that was there in January to March has also got pushed because now the first semester is already running late. So that kind of impact is there on the higher education side slightly, but on the K-12 side, for the class 10 to 12, only class 11 gets impacted because students from class 9 would move to class 10, their session would start, and only class 11 session gets delayed, which is not substantial.
Okay, so you believe that 600 top line, we don't have any risk there? 600 crore top line guidance?
We are targeting that, and we are watching the scenario. Some part of it may go into April, but then again, we'll have to see.
Okay. How do you look at FY22? Like, what kind of growth one can expect in FY22? Overall
FY22 growth is largely centered around how soon the NEP comes in and what is the impact of the NEP. Because once we know that the NEP is out, and then what classes are going to be implemented in the first phase, what in the second phase. So we'll know more in detail once the NEP is out. So if the NEP is out, we are looking at a good 20 to 25% growth. If it's not out, I would say a nominal 10 to 12% is what we're looking at.
Okay. My third question is related to our fundraising in the digital venture. So last time we had mentioned about $8 to $12 million of fundraise. Is this the number we are still working with, or has there been some change there?
No, we are still working with that number. We continue to meet investors, and as and when we have something, we'll definitely share with you.
Okay. Just last thing from my side on the margin, you mentioned about like this near term is 20%. So near term you mean FY21, right?
Okay.
When you say near term margins FY20, this 20% margin we are looking at, once NEP comes, we will be 23-25%. So near term you mean FY21 margins can be about 20%, right?
Yeah, the EBITDA margins, yeah. 20%.
EBITDA margins. Okay, sure. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. We would request the participants to please press star and 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Jinesh Joshi from Prabhudas Lilladher. Please go ahead.
So in slide 7, we have stated the opening status of schools, wherein there has been no major announcement for K1 to K5. So can you share what proportion of revenue does this bucket contribute for us?
Yeah, Jinesh, I think K to 5 is around 30% revenues. But I think with the circular coming in, we should see most of it coming into the first within this quarter itself. Because we're expecting the sessions to start in mid-March, first week of April. So most of it should be there. Whether it's physical classes or online classes, most of it should be there.
Fair enough. And sir,
so Jinesh, let me just add to my 2 cents here, Jinesh.
Yeah.
So the way to look at it is that, in terms of schools, wherever online learning is going on, they will start. There should be no issue in starting the session there, because it is going to be like, how they have been, teaching in the last 9 months or 12 months odd period. So it should be the same for those schools. For the schools where no online teaching is going on, they would have started now for their K6 to K12 operations. And once you start that, then obviously with this circular coming through from CBSE, which has just been released on 11th of Feb, more and more schools will be inclined to start their sessions at the regular time or as per the instruction of CBSE. You must also understand that the schools which do not have digital learning, they might be facing issues with regards to students not paying fees, and also there is an incentive for them also to start their session as early as possible. So the schools themselves would want that the sessions should start on time. And with this circular coming through and with the falling COVID cases, we look, it's in our belief is that it should be all normal as far as school openings is concerned for even K1 to K5 over the next 40-day period.
Sure. So it means that the 600 crore target is pretty much feasible for FY21. So that is what we can make out from this, right?
So I mean, in the next 45 days, we have to see how this thing comes through. As you know, the business is highly cyclical, and I mean, March is almost 45% plus of our revenues. So that is what we are targeting, and that is what we are working with.
Sure. And secondly, in this quarter, e-com as a channel has kind of come up and contributed approximately 8% to our revenues. So is the receivable cycle in e-com any different from the traditional channel, or the terms are pretty much similar?
No, the online channel, of course, the receivables is much lower. I mean, it's a 30 to 45 day cycle. But again, through the channel, through the e-commerce channel, you would largely have the OTC products going out which go to the market, and that is a total, I would say our total sales in that segment is around 20%. So rest of it is B2B. So I would say we've almost covered 30-40% of our B2C sales from that channel, and we'll try to push more products through that.
Sure, sir. And last
question, the cycle is definitely much better than our usual cycle, Dinesh.
Right. That is what I wanted to know, and I kind of got my answer to that. And one last question on the cash flow generation. Definitely 9 months at the OCF level, we are at 25 crores odd. And if I'm not mistaken, for FY20, we were targeting somewhere around 100 crores. But because of pandemic, we were not able to kind of generate that kind of a number. But with costs being lower this time around and with inventory liquidation, are we confident that the 100 crore number is achievable for FY21?
Dinesh, I think we would target anything between 70 to 100. I would not pinpoint because again, depending upon how schools open, the money would come in. But since we're already at 25, definitely 70 is something that we would do, and anything above that would be good for us. 100 is not ruled out at all.
Sure. And one follow-up on this part, because we have stated that we plan to be debt-free in 3 years via cash flow generation. So do we intend to pay down debt in FY22? Any number you have in mind which you would want to share?
Yeah, our target is to pay down about at least 40 to 45 crores of debt every year.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. We would request the participants to please press star and 1 to ask a question. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 now. Participants to ask a question may press star and 1 now.
So if there are no more questions, we can close the call.
So would you like to add any closing comments?
Thank you everybody for taking out time to be with us, and we've had a good 9 months in terms of our working capital efficiency, cash flows, and we hope to once we achieve our full year revenues, we expect to be back at profitability and continue to grow post that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. On behalf of Prabhudas Lilladher Private Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.